wanted to change things. I wanted to help people, and I couldn't do it from the inside. And so I'm hoping that we can do it from the outside, because that's all that matters.
First tonight, former employees of the Salvation Army shelter in Harrisonburg alleging major mismanagement. Good evening, I'm Chelsea Church.
And I'm Bob Grebe. Thank you so much for joining us. We're learning the Salvation Army has temporarily closed the Harrisonburg shelter to conduct a comprehensive review of its operations.
WHSV's Colby Johnson has been investigating the situation at the Salvation Army shelter over the past few weeks. He joins us now in the newsroom. Colby.
Yeah, Bob and Chelsea, I've spoken to a number of former employees of the shelter as well as a current employee. They all shared similar stories of Salvation Army leadership under Captains Harold and Eunice Gitau, claiming they neglected the needs of the shelter, its residents, and its employees.
It is a lack of oversight, and it is lack of accountability.
There are a number of alleged issues at the Salvation Army shelter, many of which are linked to understaffing. Chief among those are safety concerns.
We have had dangerous people in there. Absolutely, we've had dangerous people in there.
That was Martha Barber, a former shelter monitor. A current employee who wished to remain anonymous says new monitors are undertrained and don't know the proper intake policy. They say this led to a registered sex offender being let into the building for 3 days, as well as a man carrying large knives.
It appears as though the captains, whoever happens to be posted there just is no oversight and accountability, and they are just free to do whatever.
Many I spoke with say understaffing has also led to monitors often working multiple double shifts in a week with no relief from the captains.
I don't know if you've ever worked 16 hours straight, but it is rough. I did it multiple times. I'd call Washington every time and tell them this has got to stop, got to stop.
Former employees allege the captains seemingly wanted nothing to do with the shelter and were very difficult to get in touch with.
I cannot tell you how many times that man was called with important stuff, and he would not answer that phone.
Barber's concerns were echoed by others.
They never really answered any emails, nor did they answer really phone calls or text messages that were sent to them.
I was told by several people there were multiple instances where the captains couldn't be reached when a monitor had to leave and the shelter was left unattended. One incident happened over a year ago when a shelter monitor had a medical emergency and had to drive himself to the hospital. He says he couldn't reach the captains despite making multiple calls.
6 o'clock I left. I wrote in the logbook that I left. I had left him a message I had left. He didn't even call till 2 o'clock the next afternoon. And then the only thing he called was to see if I was going to be able to work that evening. He wasn't checking on my condition. He didn't care.
This is outrageous. Where are you getting the money for this?
Martha Barber and others say Salvation Army funds are being used to put the guests in motels some evenings so the captains don't have to cover shifts at the shelter.
When you're so damn lazy, you won't come in there and take care of this. You're going to put them in a motel and spend all this money when you got a perfectly good building sitting there.
Even when the guests are in the shelter, there are a number of other issues with the building itself. A former staffer shared these photos with WHSV, which shows black mold in the kitchen and downstairs bathroom. Captain Harold was also told last month the women's dorms had no hot water for 2 weeks.
He told them that it was not a top priority for him and that they should just be grateful to have a roof over their heads.
I spoke to Captain Harold this morning. He says the Salvation Army is taking steps to address staffing problems.
As we temporarily suspend the activities, one of the things is to review the whole higher qualified staff, train them, and be able to have a full house.
As for the maintenance concerns, Gitau says steps have been taken to address them. He also denies the allegations that he and his wife were often unavailable.
We are reachable. We are always here in the office. We are available. We have always been available. We continue practicing open door policy.
This morning, I also spoke with Major Bobby Westmoreland, General Secretary at the Salvation Army Potomac Division. He's overseeing the investigation, and he says Division headquarters did approve the use of the housing of guests in motels. So far in his investigation, he does not believe the guests' safety is at risk. Bob and Chelsea.
All right, Colby, thank you so much for following this story for us.